Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will talk about dynamic memory allocation and the functions associated with it. So let's start with the definition. What is dynamic memory allocation? Dynamic memory allocation refers to manual memory management in C. We can manage the memory manually. We can have more control over the memory management while we use dynamic memory allocation in C programming. While using dynamic memory allocation, we can assign and we can also change the space or memory allocated at runtime. We can do all this at runtime. Next is how is it different from arrays? It is a very obvious question because in arrays also we allocate some amount of memory to a variable, and in dynamic memory allocation also we are assigning some amount of memory to a variable. So what is the major difference? It is an important part, so understand it carefully. In arrays, once the size is declared, it cannot be changed. If we declare an array named myArray of int type of size 10, then the size 10 cannot be changed. That array will always be of the size 10. But when we are using dynamic memory allocation, we can change the size at runtime also. The second difference is in arrays, we do not know which memory block is allocated. But in dynamic memory allocation, we get a pointer which refers to the allocated block of memory. I hope you have understood this point. Whenever we declare an array and define it, some random memory block is assigned to it, but we do not know the address of it. Okay? But in case of dynamic memory allocation, it returns us the pointer which points to that allocated block of memory. So we are very much sure and we can use the pointer to perform various operations on that particular block of memory which are allocated. So we have more control over the memory management. Next is what type of functions are there in dynamic memory allocation? So there are total four types of functions that we will see one by one, and those four types are malloc, calloc, realloc, and then free. Let's understand them one by one. First, malloc. Malloc is simply memory allocation, and its function is to allocate memory and assign it to a pointer. And if we talk about the syntax, then this will be the syntax. Here, there is a pointer named myPointer, and we are equating it to a int star type of malloc function. And in the malloc, the parenthesis takes the number of bytes that we want to allocate. Understand it carefully, it is very important. For example, we want to assign a block of memory which is able to accommodate 100 integer numbers. So, what will be the memory size? It will be 100 multiplied by size of one integer. If we are using a 32-bit machine, then the size of int will be 4 bytes, and the total number of bytes required to accommodate 100 integers will be 400. So this comes out to be 400 in that 32-bit machine. So we can use this format to make it perfect for all the machine architecture. And this is a standard syntax that is used while we use malloc function in dynamic memory allocation. Now let's move to calloc. Calloc simply means contiguous allocation, and the syntax used is this one. My pointer equals int star as before, then calloc instead of malloc, and then inside it there are two parameters. First, the number of variables that we want the space to be able to accommodate, and the second parenthesis will be the size of one variable. In this particular case, we are assuming we want a space allocated which is capable of accommodating 100 integers. So that's why we have mentioned 100, comma, size of one integer. This will be a standard syntax for calloc. One more point associated with calloc is that while using malloc, malloc allocates memory and leave it uninitialized. By saying uninitialized, we mean that the memory block is assigned, but it is not given any value. But while using calloc, it allocates the memory and then initializes it to 0. It will fill all the blocks with 0 values. Okay, so these were malloc and calloc. Now let's see realloc. It is used to change the memory size assigned by malloc or calloc, and that is done at runtime. That is the major difference between dynamic memory allocation and a normal array. Now, how the syntax is it to reallocate or change the size at runtime, the syntax will be my new pointer is equal to int star realloc, and then the pointer which was previously pointing to a memory block, and then just as malloc argument, it is 100 into size of single integer. Okay, so simply there are two blocks. Earlier it was 400 bytes and the pointer referring to it was named my pointer. We want to change the size at runtime, so we assigned a new block, and the new pointer that points to this new block is called my new pointer here. Okay, so now let's understand the fourth function, that is free. Free is used to deallocate the memory. If we have allocated the memory, then it will not be automatically deallocated. We will have to use this function to free the allocated memory. And if it is not used, then it might cause memory leak. The memory is assigned, but it is never freed. So that's why that memory is wasted. That memory is leaked. And it is a serious concern while programming in C. And the syntax used for this function is free, and the argument is the pointer name which is pointing to a memory block. So in the argument, whatever pointer we will pass, it will deallocate the memory on which that pointer was referring to. Alright, so I hope you have understood the dynamic memory allocation concept very well, and it is a very important question from interview point of view. So make a very good understanding about it. So thank you very much guys. That's it for this video. I wish you all the very best for your interviews.